Have you ever wondered why some people are so focused on looking successful before they actually are? We've all seen it. The designer logos, the cars, the trips, the watches, the perfect lifestyle. But the truth is, most of it isn't real. A lot of people who look successful on the surface are dealing with stress, debt, and anxiety behind the scenes. They're just good at hiding it. So why do so many people fake success? That's what I want to explore in this video. Because once you understand why, it becomes a lot easier to avoid the trap and stay focused on building a real financial future for yourself instead of chasing status. At first, it's easy to think people who seem fake rich are just superficial, but it goes much deeper than that. It's not always about vanity. For some, it actually feels like survival, a way to gain respect, credibility, or even a sense of security in a world that often judges you by how successful you look. So let's look at 5 deeper psychological reasons why people end up chasing attention and approval instead of respect and financial security. The first is, the economy doesn't just run on supply and demand. It runs on insecurity. When people feel like they're not enough, they are a lot more likely to spend money trying to fix that feeling. A big part of the economy quietly runs on self-doubt. People aren't buying that $200 moisturizer because their skin needs it. They're buying it because of an ad or an influencer made them feel like it would make them feel more attractive, more successful, or more desirable. The fashion industry constantly tells you what's out and what's in, just enough to keep you feeling like you're a step behind. Marketing does the same thing, pushing upgrades, better versions, higher status choices, not always for the value, but for how it makes you look. And when insecurity becomes profitable, there's no shortage of people ready to sell you the solution. So in a lot of cases, faking wealth isn't really about being shallow. It's about trying to feel like you're enough in a system that constantly nudges you to feel like you're not. You're sold the idea that confidence, status, and belonging can be bought. But the more you spend trying to prove your worth, the more the system benefits, and the more your finances take the hit. Because if people already felt like they were enough, a lot of these industries wouldn't survive. Let me take a quick moment here to say I'd really appreciate if you could hit that like button, consider subscribing, and leave me some comments below. It really does help support the channel, and I'd be grateful, so thank you. Okay, the second reason, you're sold the dream early. From the time you were a kid, the message is pretty clear. If you want to matter, you need something to show for it. A big house, a nice car, great vacations, all the usual stuff and the symbols that go with it. Even phrases like living the dream rarely mean peace of mind or fulfillment. They usually mean material success. Over time, people start to believe their value isn't who they are, it's what they can afford to look like. And in today's polarized society, that's creating an interesting shift. As flashy wealth gets criticized more, stealth or quiet wealth has become more popular. But here's the irony. People chasing appearance often confuse discipline with not having money, when in reality it's a choice. They see minimalism as poverty and frugality as being cheap. Meanwhile, there are plenty of very wealthy people like Warren Buffett or Judy Faulkner who don't feel the need to show it, despite being billionaires. Both lived in the same modest homes for decades, drove the same cars for years, and are known for keeping things simple, focusing more on purpose than appearances. They're not trying to prove anything to anyone, And it's not just billionaires. There are plenty of people with more modest incomes who choose to live below their means because they value something more than impressing others. But what about the people that mock that mindset? A lot of times, it's just a way to justify their own lack of restraint. Because at the end of the day, we're not really being sold peace and security. We're being sold style, status, and comparison, instead of substance, contentment, and real happiness. The third reason, social media. People spend a lot of time on social media, and it's not really about what's real, it's about what looks good. The algorithm doesn't care if you're financially secure, debt-free, or quietly building wealth. It rewards what's clickable, what's aspirational, even if it's all an illusion. People don't post the debt they've built up, the stress from living paycheck to paycheck, or the anxiety of having nothing saved for retirement. They post their highlight reel, concerts, vacations, designer bags, watches, cars, even if it's all funded with debt. Through filters, rented cars, stage vacations, or lifestyles financed with debt, people create versions of affluence that aren't grounded in reality. And the more luxurious your life appears, the more attention you get, until it starts to look like you've got it all figured out. For some, that kind of validation becomes addictive. So people start performing wealth and success, not necessarily to scam anyone, but because they feel pressure to impress. And before long, they're spending money they don't have just to maintain an image they can't afford. Behavioral economists call this symbolic consumption, using visible assets to cover up invisible insecurity. But real wealth is built quietly by the money that you don't spend but invest behind the scenes. And over time, chasing appearances doesn't just cost you money. It costs you your peace, your credibility, and real financial progress. Social media rewards the appearance of wealth, but it often works against the habits that actually create it. It constantly invites comparisons and makes it easy to feel like everyone else is ahead, even when that picture isn't real. And here's the reality. You can't compound good vibes. You can either use your money to perform wealth or use it to build wealth. But it's hard to do both. Reason number 4. For a lot of people, identity and self-worth are tied to money. At a deeper level, this isn't just about money. It's about identity. For many, success isn't something they simply have. It's something they feel like they need to prove. So money becomes more than a tool. It turns into a way to measure self-worth. If you drive the right car, wear the right brands, live in the right place, it sends a signal that you matter. And if you don't, it can feel like you're falling behind, not just financially, but personally. This is where the mind can really start to play tricks on you. There have been multiple studies, some from places like Caltech, Stanford, and the University of Bonn, that all look at how price affects the way we experience something, like wine. In these studies, researchers took the exact same wine and poured it into different glasses, but told people the prices ranged anywhere from $5 to $45, even up to $90. Some of these studies even used brain scans to see what was happening. And just like you might expect, people constantly rated the more expensive wine as tasting better, even though it was all identical. This is often called the marketing placebo effect. What's really interesting is the part of the brain associated with pleasure was actually more active when people believed they were drinking the higher priced wine. So some people don't just spend to impress others. they spend to convince themselves they're enough. And that's where it becomes a cycle. Because when your identity is tied to what you own, you'll always feel the pressure to have more. And what if everything you owned disappeared tomorrow? Who would you be without it? If that's a hard question to answer, that's the real risk. Reason number 5. A lot of this comes down to one thing: short-term reward versus long-term thinking. Buying something flashy feels good right now. It gives a hit of validation, a rush of approval, a sense that you belong. Meanwhile, real wealth, the kind that builds security and financial freedom, is mostly invisible. It's money invested quietly behind the scenes. It doesn't get likes, comments, or instant dopamine. Most people don't really think about the opportunity costs of chasing appearances. Every dollar spent trying to prove something is a dollar that isn't invested in your future. Every purchase to impress someone else is a small trade-off with your long-term freedom. And it's not just individual choices. People who feel uneasy about their own financial situation sometimes pull others into the same patterns. Dining out with friends more than you should, expensive trips, keeping up with certain lifestyles. It creates a sense of short-term equality, but often leads to long-term debt. Over time, it becomes normalized, not so much about enjoyment, but more about shared escape from financial stress. The problem is that short-term emotional rewards often win over long-term thinking. It feels good to look successful today, even if it makes life harder tomorrow. And that's how the cycle keeps going. Insecurity drives spending, society and social media amplify it, identity gets tied to possessions, and short-term dopamine keeps it all in motion. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't spend money or enjoy life. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Life should be about having a healthy balance. Spend on things that truly bring you joy, while still planning for a secure future. The issue is when spending becomes more about creating an image than actually aligning with your own goals. But you don't have to play the game. You can step off the treadmill, stop trying to prove your worth through things, and start building real wealth, peace, and freedom instead. Because the people who are truly doing well usually aren't the ones showing it off. They're the ones quietly making consistent, intentional choices over time. So instead of trying to prove your worth through what you have, focus on building it through what you do. Because the richest part of life isn't the one everyone sees. It's the one that you quietly create. Real wealth isn't loud. It's calm. It gives you the freedom to choose what you do with your time, energy, and money, because your bills are handled and your future is secure. That's the kind of wealth that doesn't need to perform. It's felt, and it's far more valuable than anything that you can swipe a card just to impress others. If you want to improve your payday routine and build a simple investment plan, check out this video. It walks through the investment order that I would follow. I'll link it below. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.